On today's episode, you'll hear from Sara Mayer. Sara is the owner and creator of Sara Mayer Consulting. She serves as a fractional chief operations officer, and her team provides operational done-for-you services. Sara truly believes you can boldly achieve without working double time and shares her expertise as the host of the Bold Goal Crusher podcast, book club founder, speaker, and consultant. You can check her out at saramayer.com. Do you struggle with saying no? I know that I certainly have at times. Sara gives some great ways that we can say yes, even when we're saying no. Here's our conversation. I would like to introduce you to Sara Mayer. Sara and I have had a chance to work on one of my summits together, and I just really love the energy that she brings. You always just seem up and enthusiastic. So I'm expecting that from you today. Is that a bad thing? I'm putting an expectation on you, Sara.
No, it's
Welcome.
great. I love it.
Welcome to the podcast. And I would love for us to be able to start with just a little bit about who do you love to help? Where do you really find your zone of genius is when it comes to working with other people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you for having me. I always love connecting with you and your audience and listeners. So, my zone of genius really falls within tackling tough problems that maybe seem impossible and connecting dots between things that maybe seem unrelated. I truly feel like we can learn something from everyone and from everything. And many times when I work with clients and people that I connect with, I'm pulling from things that seem totally unrelated and then able to help them in whatever problem they may be facing. So that's
I
really
love
my
that when you
zone of genius. Go ahead.
I love when you say that it's about like doing the impossible or what seems impossible, because I think for a lot of people, that's just where, and again, because we talk to people who are people pleasers and perfectionists and procrastinators, that's where often procrastination comes in and nothing moves forward. And
Yeah.
yet sometimes you just need somebody who has an outside set of eyes to help you see
Yeah.
how that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And many times we're trying to do things that other people have done before in some way. I mean, unless you're inventing the post-it note or doing something like that, but most of the time somebody's done something similar. So it's really about how to find that connection, use what they've learned and maybe take a quicker path rather than giving up. I always like to call that quitter's valley, like when things start to go not so good, people tend to quit right before it's about to get really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I think, just end of year stuff. So if you're listening to this podcast when it actually releases, we're at the end of 2023. And I think one of the things that I would love to talk to you about and that we had discussed was just how often we take on everything at this time of year because we feel like we're obligated to, or there's traditions we're trying to uphold, or there's family that we feel we don't want to let down, or our kids' teacher, or whoever. But we take on
Mhm.
so much extra, it seems like, at this time of year. Or if we don't, we feel so guilty that we didn't and we said no.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about how can we do this in a way, especially for my people pleasers that are listening, in a way that we feel good, even if we do
Mhm.
have to say no to people?
Yeah. I think one of the big things that I'm really big on being intentional and reflection. And I think approaching this time of year, it's really important to take some time away, maybe find a little nook in your house or wherever, and to really journal or think about how do you want to experience this season? What are the things that you want to be involved in? How do you want to feel? And then maybe think about the things that don't contribute to that. So, for example, maybe every year you slave in the kitchen for weeks putting on a dinner. And there are people out there in the catering business that want the business, and you can support them instead. And that doesn't bring you joy. So, you can move that joy to somebody else. So, I think it's important to be really intentional about what do you want the season to be about? What do you want to feel? What do you want to experience? Rather than just going through the motions and saying, well, we do this every year. That's the definition of insanity. So, becoming intentional at the beginning is really important. And then, there's things that kind of come up and figuring out a way to decide do they fit into your plan for the season or not? And that's the key.
I love that. I think often we don't take the time out, right? We just go on remote and do what we always did. And we don't actually think about the fact that we didn't enjoy that, or it was very hectic, or it felt like we were being run over by other people or whatever. And so I love that
Yeah.
you're saying, first of all, just take the time and reflect on this.
Yeah. Yeah, and plan that out. And then many times opportunities come about during the holidays, and for anybody who's followed me for a long time, you know that I always felt guilty about saying no, because I know that there are many people out there that do need help or want somebody to help them with something. It may be, in my business, it may be like a summit or something like that. And it took a lot of courage sometimes for them to even ask or approach. And I always felt bad saying no, even though I know that I should have said no. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I did. I'm sure lots of others did. And one day I just had this epiphany, and I was like, "Hey, what if I don't say no? What if I say yes to everything, but I do it by connecting those people to others?" So instead of saying no, I say, "Do you know who would be really great at that? Or do you know who's looking for an opportunity just like this?" And then I kinda connect them together, and then they're both happy and they go on their way. So that made me feel a little better, and I use that a lot during the holiday season because many times people get really excited, and I actually see a surge of motivation around the holidays, December, and especially New Year's, where people are really motivated and there's a lot of asks out there, but I simply cannot say yes to everything. But it makes me feel better when I'm able to connect them to somebody else who's looking for something very similar.
Okay, that is awesome. And I think it would feel good because you feel like
Yeah.
you're still helping. And that's part of why we do say yes. We want to help. We do want to be that helpful person.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also tapping into what other people are really looking for. So I try, and when I make connections, ask like, "Hey, what are you looking to do in the next year? What are your goals?" And then when those things come about, they're looking to be a speaker. Well, I can't speak at this event or I can't do that workshop, but I remember back to that conversation and say, "But I know who'd be great for this. Let me connect you."
It's one of the things that I love about community and networking. And I think often, especially as entrepreneurs, we can get very isolated in our own little world and not
Yeah.
remember the value of actually being a connector, of actually putting ourselves out there, even if we're a little shy or whatever, but being willing to go to a network meeting, being willing to have a coffee date over Zoom with somebody to be able to find out, like, how can I help you? And if I can't help you directly, what are you trying to
Yeah.
do? Like you were saying. So I think that is super important. And we need to understand that that is valuable to go out there and put ourselves out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Networking, that word, I think it's a bad rap sometimes. People think about, the old school days where you exchanged business cards and you went back to your office and they sat on your desk for a while and then eventually moved to the recycle bin. And that's not necessarily how it has to be. There's many times that we can connect and form very meaningful relationships and partnerships, but also it may be 2 years down the road before something comes about, and it's really just about being intentional about finding opportunities for others as well, and then I find that they tend to do that for you.
Hey, wonderful listeners. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner like me, then you know the struggle of juggling a million tasks while trying to focus on what really matters. Well, guess what? I've got a game changer for you, and it's called Umbrella Virtual Solutions. You know those tasks that make you want to pull your hair out? The ones you'd rather avoid like the plague? Yep, Umbrella Virtual Solutions has got you covered. Need a killer website that'll make your competitors jealous? Boom, they're the web wizards you need. And let's talk about virtual events. Everyone loves attending them, but the behind the scenes madness, not so much. Luckily, these experts are your event architects. They'll plan, set up, and run the whole shebang so you can shine in the spotlight without the tech headache. Now, here's the best part. If you're a fellow podcaster like yours truly, you know that editing can be a real audio nightmare. But fear not, because Umbrella Virtual Solutions are audio editing maestros. They'll transform your raw recordings into podcasting gold while you sip your coffee and relax. And hey, who wants to drown in emails and social media management? Not me. That's where Umbrella Virtual Solutions really shine. They love diving into the admin abyss, leaving you with a clean slate to focus on your passion projects. But hold on, there's more. These folks aren't just about ticking off tasks, they're your partners in business creation. Got a brilliant business, but no clue where to start? They will guide you through the process, turning your dreams into a reality. Do you know what they've done for me? They've given me back my time and peace of mind. Head over to umbrellaVS.com and book a free strategy call. Say goodbye to overwhelm and hello to a whole lot of extra hours in your day. That's umbrellaVS.com, where dreams become reality and tasks become history. Check them out and get ready to conquer the world one stress-free day at a time. So another thing that I'm thinking as we're going through this time of year is, for many people, I think knowing when we need to say no, knowing
Mm.
what are the things to say no to, putting boundaries in place. How do we start dissecting that? How do we start figuring out what is it that is working for me? And I
Mm.
think really what works for the other person as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to really designing what you want your holiday season to be about. It makes it so much more clear when somebody asks you to do something. If you've decided your holidays are going to be about close friends and family doing activities, for example, you prefer activities to, whatever else, and you design those activities so that they bring you joy. Maybe you're taking a vacation and you don't want to work during that vacation. It makes it a lot easier to say no when somebody asks you for something and you can say, "Hey, I already have my whole week planned for that. That sounds like a great thing. I hope you enjoy whatever you're doing and I'll be thinking about you." And you can feel good about that. It's harder when you haven't really thought about that. Like, for example, I like to take a week off between Christmas and New Year's, and there's a lot of stuff I need to get done to be able to do that. So I plan my entire month with all the stuff on my calendar packed so that when somebody says no, I truly know what is on my plate, or when somebody asks me, I truly know what's on my plate for that month, so I can say no. Sometimes what happens is we look at our calendar and we're like, "Oh, we're not really that busy," but we forget in order to put on that dinner, we have to go grocery shopping, we have to cook for 2 days, we have to bake the cookies, we need to get all the stuff ready, we have to clean the house. And so just putting on that one little dinner that's 3 hours is actually 20 hours worth of work, and if we put that on our calendar, we would know really quickly, "Oh, sorry, I can't say yes to this because I actually am really busy that week."
That's a good tip, because I think a lot of times we just put the event, the thing, the
Yes.
final product.
Yes. Yeah, it happens a lot with vacation too. People will plan where they're going, their flights, get their hotels, but they forget all the little things like get your hair done, your nails done, pack, do the laundry for the packing, take the dog to the kennel, whatever you need to do. And then they come back from a vacation, they need a vacation.
Right? Right. Exactly. So when it comes to, again, just the whole idea behind wanting to make this time of year a time where, again, we're being intentional, we're clear on what we want it to feel like. We're at the point where we know when somebody asks us that we can do it or we can't, and we're able to say no when we want to. Are there things that we can do to make the guilt part a less, and again, we can say, well, because now I know I can't fit it in, or because I know this is my intention. But
Mhm.
you've mentioned that you dealt with guilt. I've dealt with guilt. What are some of the things that we can change in our own thought process?
Yeah, there's really 2 ways to handle that. I mean, I feel like you're always gonna have this sense of either missing out or guilt, and really it's about mindset and thinking about, my intention truly is this, and I wanna come out of this season feeling refreshed, feeling joyous, feeling whatever the word that you're using for the season. Sometimes it's really about making a list of these are the opportunities I said no to because I just couldn't fit it in. So that next year you can maybe connect on those things if they're seasonal, or putting them in a place where you maybe have a little more freedom in your schedule. Like you really want to connect with that person, but does it always have to be November, December? It could be March, April, or May, and plugging them into that schedule so that that could maybe become the thing. That's how I deal with it a little bit because sometimes it's guilt, but it's also fear of missing out or missing that connection with that specific person, but I just can't fit them in that time frame.
That's a good tip. Now, I know you have your own podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what it is that you are doing over there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually am launching another podcast, which is interesting in itself. So, I have my first podcast is the Bold Goal Crusher podcast, and we talk all things goals, how to crush your goals without letting life get in the way. And then one thing that's kind of sparked is that many of the people in my audience want to make a lasting impact and create nonprofits or decide what their legacy is. And so my second podcast is launching and it's called Impact Unleashed. And it's specifically for people who want to make that big impact.
I love that you're doing a new podcast around that. That is fantastic. But
Yeah.
part of the reason why I wanted to mention the Bull Goal Crusher is because for many of my listeners, you will love Sarah's podcast. And again, this time of year is a great time of year if you are looking to set some new goals, if you're thinking about reflecting on past goals, if you want ideas of how other people are crushing their goals. And so, again, it's just a really good spot to go and kind of listen through as this year is coming to a close. When we were talking about that, I know that you're giving us a freebie that kind of links to that really. It's called the Goal Reflection Worksheet. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit about how it can serve us?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one of the things I notice when working with clients and my community is that we tend to set goals at the beginning of the year. We're really excited, although you can set goals at any time. And then life gets in the way. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it has happened to me. And 6 months later, I'm no closer to the goal because that goal is so big and bold that it's sometimes easier just to check my email and go through life than to really think about that big thing. And what I realized is that when people regularly on a weekly basis reflect on their week from a place of positivity, not a place of negativity, they tend to make bigger and more steps towards their goals and achieve their goals at a higher rate. When we tend to look at things from a negative perspective, well, I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and I wasn't a good mom because I didn't have dinner on the table at this time or whatever, we tend to not take those big, bold steps. So I developed a reflection worksheet that you can use weekly that really puts you in a place of positivity and a place of moving forward towards your goals.
That sounds perfect for this time of year, especially.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like it's something we need to look at throughout the year. And again, for all of you that are listening, often when you're wondering, should I be doing what I'm doing anymore? Or I'm not feeling the excitement about my goal anymore. Sometimes it's because you didn't take time to reflect or you're not taking the time to reflect
Mhm.
because it's okay to change your mind. It's okay
Yes. Yes.
to course correct. So by doing this on a weekly basis, it kind of, first of all, keeps you more in the direction of your goal, but also lets you know if this isn't working anymore, you're not sticking in there for months for
Yeah.
a reason that is not useful to you.
Yeah. It also helps you plan your future week. Like, how do I want to show up this week? Because many times we get off track and then it's difficult to get back on track. But it's really about thinking about and designing your week so that you can have better weeks and move forward with your progress.
Yeah. And we all want to feel good as we're going towards our goals, not just doing it to get it done. I
Yep.
think that the whole hustle mentality is so not the thing anymore.
Yes. I could talk about that for hours.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Yeah.
So I ask every single person, Sarah, that comes to the podcast, do you resonate more with being a people pleaser, a perfectionist, or a procrastinator?
If you would have asked me this question like 4 years ago, I would have said a people pleaser, and then I changed that up by saying yes to everything. That really changed my whole mentality and mindset. I think I would say a perfectionist. I think they're all related actually, because I think perfectionism leads to procrastination but I would say a perfectionist. I like to put out really good stuff, and that has stopped me from achieving some of my goals because I've tried to make them perfect. And what I've realized now is that if I put it out there and continue to tweak it, it allows me to learn new skills and to really build that muscle of moving forward and taking massive action. So that's a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah, for all of us. I love
Yeah.
hearing each person's perspective on where they're at, what they still kind of can feel in there. And there's benefits to them as well. Like you were saying, you like to do things well. That's a
Yep.
good side of being a perfectionist. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do things well.
Yep.
Hey there, fabulous female entrepreneurs. Are you ready to take your business game to the next level? Well, I've got some incredible news for you. Have you ever wondered what it's like to work with a business coach who's all about helping you let go of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and procrastination in order to achieve your personal and professional goals? Look no further, because I'm here to help you make your dreams a reality. Picture this: a free 30-minute strategy call together with me. Yep, you heard me right, totally free. It's your chance to tap into my years of expertise and get a taste of what it's like to have a committed and caring business coach by your side. I've had the honor of empowering many female entrepreneurs just like you. Whether you're starting from scratch, feeling a bit stuck, or aiming for the stars, I know the ins and outs of turning ambitions into achievements. Imagine having a mentor who's been there, done that, and is genuinely invested in your success. I've got your back, and I'm ready to share my proven strategies, insider tips, and unwavering support. But here's the catch: this opportunity won't last forever. So if you're serious about smashing your goals and want to experience what it's like to work with a business coach who's all about getting results in a way that is authentic and enjoyable for you, head over to www.pursueprogress.com/podcast now and click on today's episode to go to the show notes and book your free strategy call. That's www.pursueprogress.com/podcast. Your gateway to claiming your free 30-minute strategy call. Seize this chance to unlock your potential, find your purpose, and embark on a journey of growth and success. All right, amazing listener, it's time to make your move. Visit www.pursueprogress.com/podcast. Book your spot and get ready to take that first step toward your wildest dreams. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, I'm here to support you in your goals and dreams. Don't procrastinate. Book your strategy call now and let's make those dreams a reality together. So the last thing I want to ask you is, if people are trying to find you, they don't want to head over to my show notes right now, but I'm telling you, you want to get there for the freebie. You want to get there to get the contact info, to be able to connect in with Sara. But if somebody just wants to check you out right now, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah. I like to keep things really simple. So Sara Mayer, Mayer, like John, not Oscar. So saramayer.com. And that's also where you can find me on all the socials as well.
Perfect. So make sure that you connect in with Sara. Again, check out her podcast, go and see her website, grab her freebie for sure, especially, again, it doesn't matter what time of year, it's always great to take a look at your goals and see if you're where you want to be. So thank you, Sara. I so appreciate that you're here and sharing with us, and especially that you were willing to share with us the fact that you've also struggled with some of these things and,
Yeah.
not saying no and setting those boundaries. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's always great to connect with you. I just love what you're doing. You are a rock star.